yellow table saw safety test in front of them? Awesome. All right. So, little anatomy on the table saw. This is our table saw guard. The business end of the saw is this blade right here. It spins back towards the operator like this as it's cutting. I want you guys to see that while it's in operation when I'm demonstrating it for the next couple times. We've got this adjustable fence that's adjusted with this red handle. I have got some adjustment wheels underneath here to control the height and the bevel of the blade. Crunch in as much as you guys can. You're not getting much way back there. Come on, crunch in. This, we go until 9:12 today. Flat surface here is the famous table of the table saw. It is the flattest surface in Coon Rapids. All right, when we test our tables later on for level, this is the surface that we're going to use. We're not going to use the concrete floor that's been shifted around for almost 100 years. We've got a table insert right here. We've got a riving knife that sticks up. This is a SawStop brand table saw that becomes significant. Tomorrow, I will show you some pretty cool features inside the actual mechanics of this machine. But for now, any questions on what you guys see? Yeah?
Just like underneath, I see like a wheel right beneath.
Right here?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the wheel I was talking about that controls the angle of the blade, or the bevel. So I can change that, I can adjust that to bring that blade over to a different angle of cut. So, geometry class, make sure you're listening to Mr. Carver. Every word he says is gold, because so many times we'll be making something like, say, in construction, and I can't figure out this triangle, and I'll go to him or Mr. Wynn, and they help me out with the math of it. So it's pay attention in math class, is what I'm trying to say. All right, number one, the table saw can rip, cross-cut, and cut curves in this class. I want you to circle false, giving you the first answer. And anytime an answer is false on this test, I want you to, on the line underneath it, write why it is false. The table saw can rip and cross-cut. This will never cut a curve for you.
It's only straight. You're not gonna bend the saw.
That's right. So, what does ripping and cross-cutting look like? Ripping and cross-cutting pertains to the grain direction of the board that you're cutting, okay? If you look at this piece of oak right here, I've got wood grain lines running up and down this board right here. So if I'm cutting with or parallel to those wood grain lines, that's considered a rip cut. If I'm cross-cutting, that means I'm cutting across the wood grain line. So this one I think is most easy to remember because it says in the name cross-cut, we're crossing wood grain lines. Okay. This becomes a little challenging though when we have some boards that are a little bit unique. So this is American black walnut. It's one of my favorite species of woods to use. It's actually plywood if you look really close on it, but we're still looking at the wood grain on the face of each side every time we're cutting. Doesn't matter what kind of wood we're cutting. This is a little bit easier to see. The wood grain lines are actually going the short way, or think about it the hamburger way on this board. So a rip cut would actually be like this. That becomes really important later on. Okay? And cross cut would be across the grain like that. We never talk long ways and short ways. When we're talking wood, it's considering the grain direction of the piece that you're cutting. Make sense? Number two, the table saw will be mostly used for ripping in this class. That's true. If an answer on the test is true, I want you to circle true. That's all. Mostly used for ripping in this class. Number three, the number one danger when using the table saw is getting your fingers in the blade. True or false? What do you think?
True. True.
Actually false. Okay? Yes, thank you. Kickback is the number one danger on the table saw. So on number three, please circle false. And write in kickback is number one danger. I'm not going to demonstrate kickback for you today.
It would probably hurt.
I'm not paid enough for that. But thank God for YouTube. There's a gentleman that will demonstrate it for us if we've got time today with our short hour. forward to
Is
that.
that someone who used effectively kickback to make like a cannon?
We're not gonna do that here, we can shut that down. Okay, number 4. A kickback is when the board pinches between the fence and the board you're cutting. That's false. I want you to write pinch between fence and blade. Pinch between fence and blade. Pinch between fence and blade. So if we remember, our blade rotation is coming back towards me, the operator. All right? If this board gets pinched between the fence and the blade, it could potentially come back at me. Anybody want to take a guess at how fast that blade is spinning?
Oh, very.
Very. Okay, that's accurate. But in miles per hour, this is spinning 250 miles per hour. That's pretty darn fast. Okay? So, I'll walk you through how to avoid that. Okay? But right now, just understand, a kickback is a pinch between the blade and the fence. Okay? All right. Number 5. The fence is only used in the lock position and will ensure your cuts are square. That is true. This red handle, and by the way, these 3 saws are just about identical. Those 2 saws actually have a different kind of blade guard, and that's because we're going to set up this saw for a different style cut, which I'll show you guys tomorrow. Okay. We only use it in the lock position because that's going to keep it there, and so this fence is riding parallel to the blade. So if we take our measurement down here, it should be the same as it is up here. Okay, it's keeping our cut square. It is also avoiding moving during the cut, because if that fence is moving during a cut, it could result in, what do you think? A kickback. We don't want that. So we'll use it in the lock positions only. Number 6, when measuring the fence distance to the blade, you measure from the fence to the outside or middle of the blade. That's false. Please write in inside of the blade. Fence to the inside of the blade. Anybody get their own tape measure yet? Yeah, that's okay. It's okay. Totally fine. I like mine. We talked about it yesterday, right?
Yep. Yep. 33.
So, I'm measuring from the fence to the inside of the blade. As I'm actually holding my tape measure right here, it looks backwards and can be kind of clunky, but this is one thing where you'll get some repetition on how to do this, some reps on how to do this during our practice cuts, and so it'll become second nature for you to read right to left, even though you've been reading left to right your entire lives, okay? And when you struggle with that, I'm here to help you, okay? But it's important that we are measuring from the inside of the blade compared to the outside because of something that is called the blade kerf, K-E-R-F. It's a fancy woodworking term. Thickness of the blade? Thickness of the blade. So I actually lost a little bit of this board. It wasn't just a laser cut piece. The sawdust that I'm wearing right now is where that material actually went. Okay, so it's important we're measuring from the inside of the blade because that's going to give us the actual piece that we're going to be handling afterwards. Does that make sense? Inside of the blade. Number 7, it is okay to hit the off switch really hard with your hand when shutting off this machine. That's false. So I'll show you on this one here. Don't mind the camera. Don't worry about that. But maybe scooch just a little this way, Evelyn. They all operate the same. So to start the saw, we actually pull the red paddle back towards you. You turn it off. Lightly turn it off with your hand. A big reason why I have this on here is because there's a little spring inside these on-off buttons, and it's great, but at times if we're just hammering on these switches, those springs can break and they're just really complicated to fix. And who do you think is the guy that's got to fix them? You. So that's just, at times, sometimes it's Mr. Kirk. He's feeling really generous, but no, I see it because after that first cut, that adrenaline is going like crazy. Like you feel on top of the world, and you feel stronger than what you actually are. So a lot of times it's just a bang, and I see that. And I'm like, stop. The real pro way to do it is with your hip. Okay, they're positioned specifically so that as you're operating this machine, you can turn it off with your left eye. Okay, be more on that later. But any questions on the front side? Awesome. Let's turn around to the back side. When ripping a board, it is very important to always hold the board tight against the fence and never let go. That is true. Okay, that's this cut, parallel with the wood grain lines. While we're ripping, we're holding the board tight against the fence. That means my left hand is the operable piece right here. Please move your head so you can see my left hand right here. Is kind of making that high five motion. All right, why don't you guys show me with your hands what this looks like with your left hand? Now your right hand, your left hand. There we go. Your left hand, the fingers are pushing it tight against the fence. Your thumb is hooked up on top and it's pushing down tight. So basically, my left hand has pressure going into the corner of the fence and the table. Okay. Not using all my muscle. I'm probably putting maybe 15 pounds of pressure on there so that it doesn't come off of this fence. You might be looking at that and thinking, well, Mr. Miller, as soon as you start pushing that board through, you're going to cut your thumb off. Your left hand doesn't move. So your left hand is going to go just before this red insert. Sometimes they'll call it the red danger zone. Okay, we don't want our hands right here. We want them further back like this. Okay, this is the place where we want them to be, pushing tight against the fence and tight down to the table. Left hand doesn't move. A lot of times, first times through, totally understand this, you guys are nervous. Your left hand sneaks back to like back here, okay? And you might think I can still keep fence pressure and still keep downward pressure. You lose a lot of leverage being back here, so that's why I like it right up here. And that first time through the table saw, I will help you, okay? Be awkward, I'll put my hand right on yours, show you the amount of pressure you need. Some of you football players, I don't want you breaking my saw and I see you come over here and it's just like every vein is popping. Like, stop, don't break the fence here, okay? That's what your left hand is gonna look like. Ooh, number 9, when cross-cutting, there is no need for a miter gauge. That is false. You will need a miter gauge. The miter gauge is this piece of equipment that I'm holding up right here. The miter gauge fits inside the miter slot and is used for, what do you guys think? Pushing. Crosscut. Pushing the crosscut. Whoever said pushing, that's a really good answer too. Okay. The miter gauge fits in the miter slot, and this just provides us another fence for us to hold the board tight against. At no point ever are we going to be freehand cutting on the table saw. We'll be using this fence or this fence, one or the other. So when the miter gauge comes out, I really appreciate it. To be overkill, push this fence way over there. So I don't think that you're using both on a cut. All right, because let's say I'm making the cut right here, I'm using the fence, both fences, and right here I cut through my board. What is going to happen to this piece that is pinched between the blade and the fence? It's going to kick back. Kick back, and it's not going to go this way. It's going to come right at me, at my handsome face. And I don't want that, neither do you. So I appreciate it when you've got it all the way over here. You might think, okay, it's far enough away, right here it's safe, but we've got a class of 25 in here. If I'm over there helping a student and I see you using the miter gauge, great. If I see this fence right here, my anxiety and my worry rate rises considerably because I'm thinking, oh my God, they're about to have a kickback. There's an inch of clearance right here. camera can't catch it, you guys can probably even hardly see it. If I'm across the shop, I'm gonna interrupt whoever I'm working with and basically run over here. And I'm gonna be kind of frustrated when I see just an inch of clearance over here. So please do be solid. If you're using the miter gauge, push the other fence way out of the way. Deal? That, yeah.
You always use a miter gauge across it?
Yes. So this actual cut is going to be actually rather rare. On Monday of next week, we're going to learn about the miter saw, and that's for making predominantly miter cuts. Okay, but there'll be times where there's a big line for miter saw, no lines at the table saw, and so you're welcome to use this miter gauge. Miter is a fancy word, it's either Latin or Greek for angle, and so I can actually change this miter gauge to fit a different angle to make that cut. So if I wanted to make a 30-degree cut on a table saw, I can do it right there. If you think back to that bevel underneath that controls the angle of the blade, I can make some pretty complex compound cuts with this table saw. I'll show you a basic one for now. So if you get up here and the miter gauge is all wonky like this, but you just want to make a 90-degree or square crosscut, you loosen this red handle, and there is a gauge on here and you're welcome to use that, but I like to use the table itself that I'm cutting on. There's a little channel right here, it's just a little pack for you all. Sink it into that channel a little bit, and that'll give you a square cut. Nobody can see what I'm looking at here, but as I'm looking straight down here, I'm aligning this fence right here to the edge of my table, which is completely perpendicular to that blade. See why vocabulary kind of matters around here? Because right now we're kind of speaking a different language that a non-woodworker might not understand at this point, but you guys now do. Here's what a crosscut looks like. Another side note, little pieces like this are going to go in the cardboard boxes on the side of all the machines where we're making our cuts. So little pieces that fit in there. Piece does not fit in there, it does not belong there. Miter gauge belongs on the front of the machine. There's a little door you guys can see where the other ones hang off of, and it just gets set down into that door. Any questions on cross-cutting on the table saw? So cruising. Number 10, the minimum length of a board is 12 inches. That is false. Please write in 10 inches.
The extra 2 inches.
10 inches is the minimum length on the table saw. We talked about crosscut and ripping as it pertains to wood grain direction. I'm answering your question right now. All right? 10 inches is the size of the blade right here. Guys, please stop talking. Okay, you're throwing me off my game. I want to do a good job. All right? So, when we're talking length and width, we're always talking length parallel to the wood grain lines. So right here, the length of this board is 17 and 13/16. Okay? So is that more than 10 inches?
A bit.
So I can make that cut right here. If I'm looking at the wood grain lines right here, I'm actually only at 4 5/8. Is that more than 10 inches?
No.
This one is what gets kids tripped up the most, because you think about length and width as long lane, short lane. That's not the case. All right, right here, I'm 13 inches. Oh, I can go on cowboy racing and make that cut. The answer is no. We're not going to be making that across the grain cut. Excuse me, that rip cut like this. Did that answer your question? Okay, good, awesome, thank you guys. Number 11, the maximum blade height above the board you are cutting is 1/4 of an inch. That is true. So if you kind of get parallel down with me here, am I going to cut through this board? Actually, I'm not going to cut that board. Let's cut something better. You going to cut it in two?
Nope.
No.
Not enough room.
What we're looking for is 1/4 of an inch. It's about the width of your pinky fingernail. You do not have to eyeball it like this and get your tape measure out and try and get it exactly 1/4. I just want it about 1/4. The class that comes in last hour of the day is going to be exploring construction. There'll be times where they're cutting really thick 2x4s. So it might be the case where the blade is left up super duper high. Okay, the adjustment for that is right next to the on-off switch. Please bring that down to 1/4 of an inch above the width that you're cutting. Okay, don't think that you're Cowboy or Mr. Cool for having more blade exposed. Okay? Number 12. Before you turn the saw on, you must, as the operator, look back into the kickback area and make sure no one is in the way. That's true. Once we get going on practice cuts, you guys are really good at playing school. You'll want to start a line. The person is making a cut right here. This is the absolute worst place to start the line. Okay, same thing on the other sides. We don't want to be in that kickback danger zone. We can't anymore with our equipment. All right, but as the operator, you're the one who is in charge of the machine. Not me, not Mr. Kurt, not Principal Pena. You're the one who is in control of the safety of this machine. All right, if someone is standing right there, politely ask them to step out of the kickback zone. All right, you can do that politely. It doesn't have to be a kick or an elbow or a vulgar word. All right, just, hey, you're in the kickback area, I suggest moving out of the way. If they don't, then please come and get me. Okay. 13, safety glasses must always be worn while operating this machine. That is true. Number 14, while cutting on the table saw, you must always stand to the right side of the blade in order not to get hit by the kickback. That is false. This is what that would look like, too, by the way. Does it look like I'm in control and operating the saw with confidence? Not really, okay? Because while you're operating the saw, I do not want you to be expecting a kickback because you're going to do what is expected of you, okay? So, I want you to write in there, your right foot is forward directly behind the blade. Right foot forward behind the blade. And I want it physically touching the machine, all right? Sometimes students are nervous, I totally understand that. And there is times too, if we're cutting some longer stock, you have to start back here. But if we're just cutting this little tiny piece of cedar right here, there's no reason for us to be this far back. So right foot behind the blade, touching the machine is what we're writing. Thank you for writing that. This is what it looks like. You might think I'm an athlete, I'm a quarterback, when I throw my touchdown passes, I'm lefty, I'm righty, and my left foot is forward, okay? If there is to be a kickback, it's gonna come right here, okay? It'll hit you in the thigh, maybe it'll catch your tape measure and you'll be lucky, all right? But here's what it looks like if you are operating the table saw with your left foot forward. Now if I have that same kickback, it's not hitting me in the thigh, it's hitting me somewhere far more delicate. All right, so that is why I suggest no matter who you are, boy, girl, right hand, left hand, right foot forward. See some of you guys underline that a couple times, that's funny. 15, if something goes wrong during a cut, it is okay to just let go and get out of the way while cutting. That is false. So I want you to write Keep your hands where they are. Hands where they are. Turn off the machine with your hip. You guys actually saw me do this already when I demonstrated this one for you all. I'll do that again here with this piece of cedar. And what something goes wrong during a cut. Maybe you just physically can't push it any further. Could mean the blade is dull. Let's say that you realize the fence starts to move. Maybe it's a mechanical error. You see sparks or smoke coming out of the machine. All of those things are irregular and should not happen. So in that case, I want you to hold your hands where they are, turn off the machine with your hip. Okay, this blade spins at 250 miles per hour. We got some great athletes in here. You're still not fast enough to get out of the way. All right? So, problem. Keep your hands where they are. Turn off the machine. Have my hands move? No, I'm going to wait until I see with my eyes that the blade has stopped, and then I'm going to try and figure out what went wrong. Okay, if you realize, oh, I forgot to lock down the fence and it started moving, then that's something where you corrected it. If you saw sparks or smokes or something else is wrong where you can't quite figure it out, that's where you come and get me. All right? Do not try to bail out and get out of the way. You'll get hit by a kickback and we do not want that. 16, you will only remove the guard if the stock you are cutting needs to be cut down to less than 1.5 inches. After, you must reinstall the guard. That is true. One and a half inches is really small. Okay, it's the line between the 1 and the 2 on your tape measures. On the table saw, it looks like this right here. And so right here, it's really hard for me to operate with this guard in the way. Same thing on those machines. So that's where on this one we can simply swing it away. On those ones, it'll be something where I help you take it off. Okay, but this is a very rare thing that we ever do because we want the guard there. And the guards have a lot. Remember, this riving knife here is actually really important for splitting the wood on the back end so that it stays square and that it doesn't start to twist off the back side of that cut. Questions on 16? Number 17. While cutting on the table saw without a guard, it is okay to just use your fingers to guide the board through the cut. You guys have seen me use the push stick. Alright? Would this be a good idea?
No.
I could probably do it. No, I am not going to though. Alright? And if I ever see this, this is almost immediately, you're out of here. So if I can't trust you to work safe, you're not going to be. Okay?
I would have ruined a stick.
Right, so 17 is false. Please write in use push stick. You guys got it. You guys are so good. And answering questions. Number 18, if you're ripping small material less than 5 inches, you must always use a push stick. That is true. So here is 4 7/8. It's just a little tiny bit under 5 inches. I'm going to put my guard back on because it's over 1.5 inches. But I'm going to use my push stick to do this cut. Okay? If I'm cutting something larger, say this piece of American black walnut, and I need this thing to be 12 inches and 3/16. I'm going to set my fence right there, and I'm going to make my cut. Now, because it's over 5 inches, I actually don't want you to use a push stick. There's ample room right here for you to slide your hand that avoids the danger zone. while still keeping everything tight to that fence, okay? That's what this looks like right here. Would you mind actually catching this one before it hits the ground? I don't want to totally waste this piece. Just catch it before it hits the ground. You know what I mean? Just. Thank you. Push sticks are always going to be hanging off the machine right here. It's one of the most carried off items though, so if it's not here, you can usually go off and find whoever used the machine last carried the push stick back off, but it should be hanging in front of the table saws on that board that hangs off the side of the machine. 19, it's always recommended you have someone catching for you when operating the saw. That's true. Even on the larger table saws with the LP tables, you can just push it out so they won't fall, but that second person allows a second set of eyes to see, oh hey, you forgot to lock down the fence, or hey, that blade height should be a different setting. So it's nice to have that second set of eyes. It's more enjoyable to do woodworking with friends, in my opinion. But in this circumstance, on this saw, it's just nice to not have a great big dent in your board as well. They're never responsible for helping pull the material through. They're simply catching it so it doesn't fall off the table. Number 20, whenever you are using the saw, you will always follow all the safety rules and instructions of the teacher in this shop. Please circle true. If you use this saw with family or construction site and you've done something different, you're welcome to make that case to me privately, but this is how we use it here at Coon Rapids High School. Any questions on the questions? Yes?
Is that the test?
It is very similar. We're going to do it on Google Form as well. But please keep these in your binders. You're welcome to use them as a study guide. Take pictures of them to bring them home. But I really want these to be kept in the room here, in our binders, on the shelf. We've got about 9 minutes left in here. Let's do this. Let's go up and watch the guy get hit by a kickback. If you guys have stuff to turn in, please turn it in at this time. You guys can put everything away. We're just going to enjoy this guy get hit by that kickback. Thank you all.